The fact that your government is starving 2.2 million people right now.
Gaza.
You're starving the babies, you monster.
Torturing the
He and
10,000 people came to his funeral
your
when his body was dragged through the streets of Gaza. His parents received his body with a noose around his neck.
All right. Get him to shut up for a second and let other people talk. You are the enemy of America. You are the enemy of America, okay? You got us to fight Iraq. You want us to fight the Iran war.
Turk.
You've taken $300 billion. You starved children to death. You are the worst terrorists of my lifetime.
So Piers Morgan censored his back, right? I call it the WWE of all debates. Piers has done a great job in curating different talents and different characters, right, to come on this show and debate different topics. And he knows how to table out the questions and everything. He knows the buttons to press, and he just allows them to detonate, right? Especially when it comes to the topic of Israel and Gaza. The characters gain their feelings, get so emotional, and the show just goes left. Now, I'm not saying that what's happening in Gaza is interesting, no. But I'm just saying that the debates on the show, especially when it comes to Cenk, who is the host of the Young Talks, when he gets in his bag, there's no stopping him. You get me? Now, yesterday, they were having the conversations in regards to the latest activities regarding Israel and what they are doing in Gaza. And it was an explosive debate. It started calmly with Piers asking his questions and doing the introduction and everything. But at some point, it just went nuclear. Let's check it out.
Are you comfortable as an IDF reservist with what is now going on, with hundreds being killed every day, so many women, so many children in particular? Are you comfortable that there is a strategy here that is either working or is not just turning Israel slowly but surely into a global pariah?
Piers, I don't think that anyone in Israel has been comfortable since October 7th. You're asking me what is a proportional response to 1,200 people being slaughtered, raped, babies being burnt, 250 people which have been taken captive as hostages, 57 of which are still in the Gaza tunnels. I'll tell you, I think that the word is a smokescreen. Hamas went after civilians, and you're asking me what's a proportional response? Israel's response has been never to go after a civilian, only to go after Hamas terrorists. Now, I've been in Gaza. I've been in Gaza 4 different times.
They killed tens of thousands of civilians.
When you're in Gaza,
yeah, but don't, they killed tens of...
For people that don't know, obviously that's Cenk right here. You know what I'm saying? That's Cenk, that's Scott. You get me? So keep an eye on Cenk. You know, he's heating up slowly.
And
you're on the ground in Gaza. What you see, just 1 second, what you see when you're on Gaza is you're being fired on from parks, from schools, from apartment buildings. Hamas fighters are popping out of ground every Hamas tunnel. I don't know if you've been on Gaza, Piers.
No, you know why I haven't been in Gaza? Doran, hang on. You ask a question.
You can go into Gaza, Piers. There's been over 1 million people that have entered Gaza to visit Gaza.
But here's the key point, Doran. International journalists have not been allowed into Gaza to independently verify any of this. That's been another massive problem I've had with this. If Israel has nothing...
He is trying to pull the whole Douglas Murray thing. Oh, have you been to Gaza? Have you been to Gaza? You haven't been to Gaza.
Have you been to the crossing points?
No.
When were you last there at all?
I've never been.
You've never been?
Well, am I not allowed to talk about it now? I've never been to. Have you ever been to Nazi Germany? Are you allowed to have feelings about them?
You can't time travel, but you can.
Right.
But you can travel.
Okay, but so what? So what's the point? Like,
no,
okay.
I find that
lots of people have been there and agree with me, and lots of people have been there and agree with you.
Yeah, but
so
if
I don't
you're
know
going to
what
spend a year and a half talking about a place, you should at least do the courtesy of visiting it.
All right. I just think this is a non-argument.
You don't
but
think?
Okay. No, I think it's a non-argument.
But if you're an ex...
Well, you have to go and touch the ground?
No, I think you have to see... I think it's a good idea to see stuff, particularly if you spend a career talking about something. Yes.
To hide, they should let
Piers,
all the...
have you ever been in Gaza?
Hang on, let me finish.
Piers.
Hang on. Let me finish my question. Let me finish my question.
Have you actually you had 20 years to go to Gaza?
Bro, this is Douglas Murray 2.0 right there. Have you been to Gaza? You haven't been to Gaza. Why haven't you been to Gaza?
Let me finish my question, please.
What happened on October 7th that all of a sudden you want to walk into a war zone?
I'm going to finish my question,
Israel.
whether you let me or not, okay? And my question is this. If Israel has nothing to hide, why are they not letting international journalists go in? Tell me. Why don't they let them all in so that what you're telling us can actually be independently verified?
Piers, Israel is trying to deal with a terrorist regime that is popping out of tunnels, popping out of buildings, is everywhere. And you want us to unleash a flood of reporters into the area. When a Hamas reporter was killed because he was Hamas, the entire world media blamed Israel for killing a reporter. And he was a member.
I feel like whenever they do Hamas, you get me? They are digging down into the lavatory of propaganda.
Of Hamas, a verified member of Hamas that filmed himself as part of October 7th. So you want us to unleash 1,000 reporters.
You're not banning the international media out of concern for their safety.
One second, Piers.
Don't insult my intelligence.
You asked me about a...
Don't insult my intelligence.
You're asking me questions while I'm speaking.
Don't insult my intelligence. Israel is not banning international media
I'm just trying to provide an answer, Piers. I don't think I have an opportunity to actually answer you.
You're not banning us out of concern for our safety. You're banning us because you don't want the international media to witness what you're doing on the ground for reasons that I don't know. But the best way to remove any suspicion about what you're doing is to let the international media in. They will make their own risk assessment.
Scott is laughing right there. Scott is laughing because Scott knows this guy's full of shit.
It will be down to their security teams, as it is in any war zone. But the idea that somehow Gaza should be the only war zone in the world where you don't let international journalists go and operate and do their job, and you can do that, Israel, because you basically control all the access to Gaza, I'm afraid is for the birds. You should just let the media in. Then everything you're saying can be verified as true or untrue. And the fact that Israel won't allow it is sticking in my gullet. And when it's pretended to be out of some quaint concern for my personal safety, I'm afraid it's laughable.
Yeah, and it's killed more journalists than all other conflicts combined.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. I myself have taken reporters into Gaza in armored vehicles, let them walk around. Palestinians on Gaza take pictures with their phones every single day. All you have to do is look at Telegram, look at X, look at every single social media channel. If you think that the suffering of Gazans is not displayed, you're wrong. What is not being presented, and this lies at the very source of your question, is why is there so much suffering in Gaza? We have brought 1.8 million tons of food into Gaza. That is a ton of food. 2,000 pounds of food per person in Gaza. Why are there people in Gaza that are hungry right now? Is because all that food that goes into Gaza is taken by UNRWA, all the international agencies that fill their coffers with that food, by Hamas, who steals that food from the Gazan people. And now that Israel actually has a plan to go into Gaza, take over the Gaza Strip, enable very clear distribution points, you should be cheering, Piers. Everyone on this
panel don't cheer an 11-week blockade of food to an impoverished people.
Should destroy Hamas and should be able to bring the food to the people who need it. But instead, what you are doing and what Cenk is doing is you are perpetuating the rule of Hamas. Did you not see Odeh Raby? Do you know who that is, Cenk? Cenk, who's Odeh Raby? Do you know Odeh Raby? Did you speak about Odeh Raby, Cenk? I didn't see him on your social media.
Listen, here's what I'm speaking about, how the fact that your government is...
Cenk is kicking off right now, bro. He's on smoke.
Starving 2.2 million people right now.
Gaza.
You're starving the babies, you monster.
Torturing the Gaza
Why don't you stop? You're the terrorist.
And 10,000 people came to his funeral when his body was dragged through the streets of Gaza. His parents received his body with a noose around his neck and his underwear. And all of those people, 5 were killed, and dozens and dozens of them have gone missing.
You know who's the worst terrorist in the world?
Decide to keep Hamas in power. And the reason is you've never been on the ground. You support David Duke. You're an anti-Semite at your core. You care nothing else about the Muslim world. You don't care about women's rights.
I'm not going to lie, yeah. I don't know if the pro-Israel people have the same template, right? They don't allow people to talk. I've noticed it. I've watched Piers Morgan's show since the beginning of time, right? They do not allow people to talk because for some weird reason, they just don't want you to say your piece because obviously, you know, depending on what you look at as the truth, they don't want people to know the truth. You go, I mean, so they want to talk over you and everything. Literally.
else. If you're going to talk over everyone else, I'm going to talk over you.
You've never been on the ground,
starved more people than anyone else in the world. Israel has killed more journalists than anyone else in the world. You're not going to talk over me. You've got these people that are
this
starving,
is coming from
and Hamas did not make that decision. Hamas is terrible. Israel made that decision. But whenever you start talking about Israel,
by the
guys
J
like
word
this
and
come on
doesn't
shows
respect women,
and never stop talking.
Don't talk over each other because no one can hear it.
Israeli propaganda, and I'm sick of it.
All right.
Get him to shut up for a second and let other people talk. All they do is Israeli propaganda. It is a fact that they are starving the children of Gaza right now. It is a fact that they have killed over 53,000 people. And he says, 1,200 is terrible. It is terrible what Hamas did on October 7th. But to say that 1,200 people killed and
you don't think it's terrible,
children
Cenk?
killed is
Since
terrible.
the very
but
day you've been against the government providing.
Oh my God, bro. This show, man. This is what I call this show the WWE of debate. I'm telling you, especially when it comes to pro-Israel versus anti-Israeli government people. Listen, oh my God, they go too hard, bro.
Fighting the bombs to Israel needs to fight its wars. You sit and scream. You never ever blame Hamas. Where's Hamas, Cenk? If it was up to you, you'd be leaving the Gazan people under the regime of Hamas. You are the enemy. You are the enemy of the Gazan people.
You are the enemy of America. You are the enemy of America, okay? You got us to fight Iraq.
You call yourself a young Turk.
You've taken $300 billion. You starved children to death. You are the worst terrorist of my lifetime.
You led 1 million Armenians into the Syrian desert and watched them die, and you proudly name your show the Young Turks. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Exactly what Israel is doing.
Bro, look at Cenk's face, bro. My guy is red. Boiling, bruv. He is boiling.
To the Palestinians now.
David Duke is a pro-American. I get it, Cenk. David Duke is the American.
Israel is the largest terrorist organization in the world right now.
All right, that's enough. That's enough.
Culpable.
All right, listen. When you both shout, no one can hear a word. Natalie.
I know. That's why he does it, Piers.
This is round one, yeah? So get ready for round two.
Okay,
and they never let anyone else
you gave as good as you got.
Whatsoever, Cenk.
Listen, okay, I'm going to bring the other two panelists in. Jamie has left us. I'm not quite sure. Maybe his eardrums burst. But Natalie, let me just ask you about Israel and what is happening here, because it seems to me, whatever side of the fence you've been on this, there's got to be a moment of reckoning here. I read a very good column by Matthew Said in the Sunday Times here in London yesterday, in which he just said, look, it's time for, Israelis and Jewish people everywhere to look at themselves on this and say, what is happening here? Is Israel actually winning any war here? Is it making more enemies by the day with this constant slaughter of so many civilians on the ground? Does Netanyahu have any incentive, because of all the legal issues he faces, to end this? Does he have control over his government? We know he did a dirty deal to get back into power with some real right-wing headbangers who clearly speak in genocidal language, suggesting their motivation is indeed a form of genocide there. But I just don't see what the end game is here. I don't understand how this ends without just constant more loss of life, particularly civilian life. Do you?
Yeah, I think it's led to a fatigue, but you sort of see that shift in rhetoric coming from President Trump, I think particularly on his most recent trip, or even the deals, right? Lifting sanctions on Syria, talking about what's been going on in Gaza, using rhetoric and diction that is something that's not necessarily typical, especially for Republicans, but for just most American presidents. And I think you even see it reflected in the shifting of opinion polling, particularly among younger Americans. It really seems to be only sort of the holdout, maybe more boomer GOP types that are still steadfastly in support of Israel. And the intricacies of that region aside, like you always say, it's a lose-lose. I think what it is it's a fundamental reorientation of priorities. And I think the MAGA movement, right, the people who would rather be talking about the big, beautiful bill, Medicaid, stuff that directs them impactfully. I'm not being negligent to human rights issues going on, but I think that one of the core tenets of the MAGA movement is really looking at these events as to how they impact the United States. So the idea that one would be pro-Israel or anti-Israel is too reductive. And frankly, that's a paradigm that I don't even necessarily buy into, because I'm pro-America and I would put America first. And I don't want to see massive floods of refugees into, frankly, anywhere in the Middle East, let alone the West, certainly not the United States. And I think that you're just creating the potential for that. I'm glad we have President Trump in office to prevent that. I am not for sending foreign aid really anywhere. I don't think we should be arming Israel to the level that we are, which is maybe heresy or heretical for being a supporter of President Trump and a Republican. But on the other hand, Hamas is a terrorist state and Israel has the right to defend itself. I just don't think that the United States should necessarily be supporting them at the rate that we do.
Right. I mean, Scott Horton, the backdrop to all this, we've just seen...
Zero. They should get zero.
I'll come to you, Cenk, in a second. Scott, the Trump trip to the Middle East, I was in Qatar for that state dinner, and what was palpable was how popular Trump is in the Middle East now. Whether he was in Saudi Arabia making a pretty transformative speech about it's time for the neocons in the West to keep their big noses and their bombs out of the Middle East and let Middle East countries do what they've been doing very successfully, which is building up massive national brands now, whether it's Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, whatever. You get a sense of a very dynamic, very fast evolving society in all of these countries, albeit from a pretty low base, let's be clear, but not a low base they try and deny. Certainly they didn't when I spoke to them about it. But Trump, very popular there. And at the same time, a report coming out that Hamas launched this attack on October the 7th, ostensibly because the Hamas leadership wanted to thwart and to stop any normalization of relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel. They didn't want them being added to the Abraham Accords. And that seems completely plausible to me that was why they did this, with the obvious tacit behind-the-scenes support of Iran. But it seems to have had the opposite effect,
Piers,
I would argue.
Respond to that?
No, in a moment, yeah. I'm asking Scott first. I'm asking Scott first. It seems to me that Saudi Arabia is being very pragmatic and that they would like to ultimately join the Abraham Accords, I believe. And that is why I think that this will have to be sorted, the situation in Gaza, probably driven by pressure from Trump and a coalition of Middle Eastern countries to get this stopped. Because without the war being stopped, there can be no addition of Saudi Arabia to the Abraham Accords. Am I mad, or is that, do you think, what's going on here?
Well, I mean, yes, up until recent times, it went without saying, or it was, widely understood that none of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries would normalize relations with Israel until the Palestinians got a deal. And the Abraham Accords were the invention of Netanyahu and Jared Kushner the last time Trump was president. And the idea was the American people will pony up the money to get these states to go ahead and forsake the Palestinians and normalize with Israel anyway. So Bahrain got F-16s, UAE got F-35s, Sudan got debt forgiveness, and Morocco got American recognition of their seizure of the northern half of Western Sahara. And this was their bribes, their payoffs to go ahead and normalize with Israel. And quite frankly, October 7th represents the complete failure of that Netanyahu doctrine. You might remember that just, 3 weeks before the attack, Netanyahu gave a speech at the United Nations, and he always has a good visual aid, cartoon bomb or something. In this case, it was his map of the new Middle East, and he was mocking Shimon Peres, who had used this phrase in the attempted continuity from the Rabin doctrine, which was to make peace with the Palestinians and the Arab neighbors and turn against the peripheral states like Iran. And he was saying, see, I got away with making the new Middle East without giving anything to the Palestinians. And to paraphrase him pretty tightly, he says to the Palestinians in the speech, no one's coming for you. I got it. No citizenship for you and no independence for you. And I get to go ahead and have the whole Middle East, all the Arab Sunni states in my corner anyway. You have been forsaken. Ha, ha, ha. And then it was 3 weeks later that they broke out of their pen and launched the October 7th attack in order to, exactly as you say, Piers, to try to at least make the issue controversial enough that it would prevent Saudi Arabia from signing on to the deal and forsaking their previous position of mandating or, insisting on a Palestinian state first. So that means then if Trump, and it's in the New York Times today, Trump himself says the Palestinians are starving under it's been an 11-week full blockade since the last time they let any aid in. Little babies, it's on the front page of antiwar.com today. Babies are literally starving to death there daily now, along with the bombing campaign. If Trump wants a new Middle East where everybody can get along and trade and be prosperous at peace, he has to.
If Trump can stop that war, if he's successful in stopping that war, and stopping the one in Russia, bro, he's going away with the Nobel Prize. Straight up. You know what I mean? Those are the two things, in my opinion, that are keeping him from getting the Nobel Prize, and he wants that. You know what I mean? So he's doing everything. Well, he has to do everything to stop that war,
To pick up the phone and tell Netanyahu to stop this right now. And Piers Morgan, that is all it would take.
Yeah, and, he's edging, I would say he's edging closer, just as I think he's edging closer to running out of patience with Vladimir Putin. Doron, you wanted to come in here.
Yeah, I think, first of all, if we want to save the babies of Gaza, which we do, the first thing we have to do is to get rid of Hamas. I mean, everything we're saying, ceasefires, why are they supporting Israel, we should pull out. Do we really want to leave 1.8 million people under the rule of a tyrannic terrorist regime that took dozens of billions of dollars paid for by U.S. taxpayers, by British taxpayers, in terms of building tunnels. Let me just finish, please. I'll let you 1 second. Let me just finish. I can, please. Building tunnels, building a terror network. To say that they came and attacked Israel because of the Abraham Accords, all one has to do is open up the 1988 Hamas charter, in which it calls Israelis Nazis. It says every tree will call out, there's a Jew behind me, come and kill the Jews. It talks incessantly about how the Jews started World War I, started World War II. 1 month before October 7th, by the way, you had Mahmoud Abbas, and I'm reading right now on page 14, that says, they say Hitler killed the Jews. This is my new book. And the Europe hated the Jews because they were Jews. Not true. It was clearly explained they fought the Jews because of their money lending. Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian Authority head, is creating, propagating, there was no Holocaust, there's no Jewish Christian history in Israel. They erased the people, and that is why they attacked on October 7th. They need no reason, which is why they launched 30,000 rockets at Israel before October 7th and engaged in multi-border attacks before October 7th. To say that this is because of the Abraham Accord is to simply try to clear
let me ask you a question before I go to Cenk. Let me ask you, Doron, let me ask you a question.
And this is the Doron, that need to be called out.
Doron, on October the 7th, how many members of Hamas were there?
About 25,000.
Okay, so you've had
how many now?
You've had nearly 20 months, one of the most superior military force in the whole Middle East. You've had 20 months. You've rained down bombs which are 5, I think it's 5 or I can't remember the exact statistic, multiple times the tonnage of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You've rained it down on an area much smaller than those two cities combined. And yet you still haven't eliminated Hamas. You don't seem to be any nearer eliminating them because you still can't get the hostages back. At some point, you have to admit, don't you, that you cannot do this. This strategy is simply not working. All you're doing is killing more and more civilians. Where is the victory? You have failed. The most superior fighting force in the Middle East has failed to take out a ragbag collection of 25,000 terrorists. How? How have you failed so badly? You failed by letting them into Israel on October the 7th, and you failed to eliminate them now. And in fact, all the intelligence suggests that for every one that you have killed in Hamas, they've been replaced by 5 more. That's what I read at the weekend. Now, maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's poor information.
The entire command structure including this last week, of Hamas has been destroyed. Hamas right now is operating as individual units and hiding behind civilians in Gaza, hiding behind the hostages. If we place as a goal, we haven't destroyed Hamas because we haven't gotten our hostages back, the reason we haven't destroyed Hamas are two. First of all, they're hiding behind our hostages, and most of us don't want to just blow right through our hostages to kill them. That is the most cynical use of a terror group. They took 250 people, raped and killed and executed them in order to tell the IDF to keep away. The other reason why this didn't finish so quickly, Piers, is the root of this conversation. We are trying to give food to the people of Gaza. No foreign army in the history of the world has taken care of an enemy population the degree to which Israel is taking care. I was there on the humanitarian. I was there on the ground. When was the last time you were in Gaza?
It's been 11 weeks of full
Cenk, when were you in Gaza? Cenk, when were you in Gaza? Scott, when were you in Gaza? When were you there? I was there. I was there following October 7th on the ground at the humanitarian corridor, helping Gazans reach the humanitarian Al-Maswi zone, and we are being fired on by Hamas. The reason why we haven't destroyed them is we are giving food to these people, and we all know that 50% of that food goes to Hamas. They recruit their new fighters, and therefore, the new plan is, Piers, let me just finish one second. The new plan is to go into Gaza, take over all of Gaza, and enable food centers, and then destroy Hamas. Again, I will say, this is the only thing that will provide a long-term benefit for Israelis and the people in Gaza that are living under this tyrannical regime. Let us destroy them. Do not make any excuses.
All right, Cenk, your final word.
Okay. All right, so first of all, this guy does nothing but propaganda. Almost everything he said was a lie. They're not there to help the Gazans. Does anyone on planet Earth believe this preposterous liar that the Israelis are trying to help the people of Gaza? And he said there's 25,000 people in Hamas before the war started. So there's 2.2 million people in Gaza overall. All their homes have been destroyed, all their hospitals, all their schools, everything has been razed and destroyed by Israel. That is not helping them, that is butchering them. They've killed over 53,000 people at a bare minimum, injured over 120,000. They've been starving them for 74 days. They finally decided to let some food in now because of what Netanyahu called optics. They were losing the PR war because people were literally seeing babies starve to death. The moms had run out of breast milk because of malnutrition, and there's obviously no baby food because Israel, the monstrous terrorist state of Israel, did not allow any food in. And then, but there are good people in Israel, and there are good supporters of Israel that normally like Israel. And by the way, I don't hate Israel normally. I want it to be a safe haven, but I don't want it to murder and occupy and oppress the Palestinians for the rest of the time.
Want Israel to be a safe haven?
And he just,
where have you been with the protests on campus?
This guy, of course,
you like Israel.
So Piers, what are you talking about? You like Israel? Do on your show where they won't let the other side
Hamas.
Talk,
right now,
and they just start talking over them.
Yes, I'm sorry, Doran. Can you let Doran? We let you speak. Doran, you're allowed to make your comments. Let Cenk just finish his, please.
Okay, so if you actually care about Israel, you would not enable their worst instincts. Rabbi Kareev he's a member of Knesset, and he did a speech where he said, it is not in Jewish tradition that we starve babies. And if you think it is, you're insulting Jewish tradition more than the worst enemy of Israel. And the rabbi is right. Rabbi Jacobs here in America said, what are we doing? For God's sake, let them eat. Look at the image that we're putting out there of Israel. Now and this guy comes in here with a long history lesson. Brother, we know that. And what happened to the Jews throughout history is terrible and should never happen again. But it should also never happen to the Palestinians or any other people again. And so when you say, oh, well, so back then this happened to us, so it's okay when we do it to Palestinians.
But
it is not okay when you do it to Palestinians. Again, here he goes again. Here he goes again. Look, brother, a lot of people are allowed to say never again, but not you. You're not allowed to say it because you're actively saying that you want to conquer the Palestinians, you want to starve the Palestinians, and you've murdered enough of their children. For God's sake, let our people go. What is wrong with you? Israel has become what it most feared and despised. It has become that, and it breaks my heart. It isn't just the Palestinians that are suffering. The people of Israel, I'm asking you, is this who you are? Is this who you are? Is this the kind of people you want to be, that you starve babies to death and the whole world sees it with their own eyes? Why do you want the whole world to hate Israel? How does that help Israel? and it doesn't help any of my Jewish friends or family.
Hamas,
so they do not do it in their name.
Not the trouble is, we've got to end it here. We've got to end it here. We've got to end it here. All I would say, Duran, you are not destroying Hamas. There's no evidence you're destroying Hamas. Every time they release a hostage,
of course we're destroying Hamas.
Really?
If we have the green light and continued aid that reached the people and not Hamas will disappear in 3 months. We talked about President Biden.
They're never going to kill enough Palestinians to satiate them. This has nothing to do with Hamas.
I don't think this war strategy.
There's 2 million
We're going to leave it there, but there is no actual evidence you are defeating. There is no evidence you are defeating Hamas, and that is my problem with what is going on. If there was clear evidence you were winning, great. There isn't.
Said you cannot destroy the Nazis. We would be saluting the Third Reich today if we listened to those people. You are trying to convince Israel and the world we can't destroy Hamas. Well, you are wrong.
You're doing the Third Reich. You're doing
Not only about Israel.
I can't
you are
stand
wrong
this propaganda.
About the Gaza
You're
people.
the one starving
the Gaza
babies.
people have
Don't call
died in the
anyone else
streets
the Third Reich.
trying to tell you
call anyone
that
the Third
Hamas
Reich
is
when
at
you're
fault.
starving babies
Allah
to death.
Akbar, kill
Have you no
Hamas.
humanity?
Allah Akbar,
Have you no
Hamas are the
morality?
terrorists.
Have you no decency? Have you no decency?
Gazans are dying
you do not
here
speak
so
for
that
Jewish
you
people.
hear the voice. I don't expect this anti-Semite to hear the voice. But you, Piers,
I'm going to end it there. I'm going to end it there before blood vessels get burst.
Pro-genocide, pro-ethnic cleansing.
Okay.
That's what you are.
We're going to leave it.
You're disgusting.
We're going to leave it there. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Damn. That was hot. That was hot. But I'm not surprised because this is one of them situations that bring out so much emotions from people because we are seeing the pictures, we are seeing the videos, we are literally seeing kids, babies' heads getting blown off. Literally. You get what I'm saying? This is not a movie. This is not like a storybook or whatever. Like, it's happening in real time. So, obviously, on both sides, you know, it is a very sensitive issue because you have people that are pro-Israel that obviously feel like they have to defend their country regardless because they love it, regardless of what it does. Now, you have, you know, on this side, people that see those images and see those videos and wonder, like, what the fuck? Like, is this where we've come to as humanity? Like, how can we be okay with this? You know? And that's where we are right now. It is a very unfortunate situation. But in regards to the debate, I'm not going to lie. Whenever they talk about Israel, Gaza, I tune in all the time because I know it is going to pop off. You go what I'm saying? Let me know your thoughts, man. Put it in the comment section. Like the videos. Leave a like. Leave a comment. And subscribe to this channel. It's your boy, Toby. Until next time. Salute.